So did you know going into the season that Ravi would be in the midst of this hot and heavy love triangle?
Did I know going into this season? Yeah, that was the only thing I was told. We were told kind of on the back end of season 2 that this was their intention for season 3, which was this dynamic between Peyton, Blaine and Ravi. And then everything else outside of that I wasn't told, so everything else was a surprise week to week.
How often do we see Ravi and Blaine together?
A decent amount, particularly at the beginning, simply because of the kind of ripple effect of the finale. And also, Major's obviously on borrowed time, which is another thing that Ravi's having to deal with, which is he, in theory, is going to go down the same way as the rats did. And he also knows that the cure he has causes amnesia, and that's through Blaine, obviously. So in that respect, Blaine also becomes a subject for him to study in order to get this right, so that he can hopefully save Major. So there's an interaction on two different.
Here, Ravi gets some advice from Major when he's a teenage girl. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's a dynamic. It basically plays more. It doesn't so much do much for Ravi's relationship as more as shows the two different brains that both Liv and Major are on. Because obviously they one eats the father and one eats the teenage daughter. So Ravi, who's going through his own sort of drama, again over what he's just learned about Peyton and Blaine, seeks advice from Liv. And he gets one aspect of that, and then he gets Major, which is the teenage daughter brain, and he gets these conflicting things. It's a great scene, and it again has nothing to do with Ravi. It just shows how great Robert Buckley is at that character. He really killed it. It's a fun scene.
Now that Ravi is aware of this burgeoning zombie community, is he starting to feel more pressure, not only to save Major, but to reverse the effects of this zombie community that may pose a threat?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, zombieism is becoming a bit of a cancer, and the tumour's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's harder and harder to contain. When we first joined this world, it was literally restricted down to boat party survivors, if there were any, and any kind of, and then who Blaine was scratching. So he was capitalising on the brains. Whereas now it's really hard to contain, and it's really just popping up everywhere, and it's a virus, and it's infecting, and he is this close. He is this close, and he always has been this close to fixing it. But right now, the side effects are amnesia, and it's obviously it's tying his hands from able. He's not able to fully stop this.
Does his new procedure, because as we saw in the premiere, he's trying to develop a procedure that reverses the effect of
Yes.
amnesia. Is that going to have maybe an unintended side effect?
That's exactly, yeah. I mean, trial and error, right? So, just like with the cure, the various iterations of it cause different side effects and whatever. The amnesia cure has its own journey and its own kind of betas and whatever. And in fact, that's actually a longer game than I thought it would be, because where are we now? We're on 10, and we're finally seeing some effects of his trial and error with that particular serum. So yeah, that will be its own little journey alongside with the cure.
How committed is Ravi to trying to win Peyton from Blaine, or
really.
does he not really?
Not really. No, I don't know. Honestly, I don't. This is one of the few times I haven't been able to really. I've been on Ravi's side a lot, and I understand a lot, but this particular part of him, this aspect, which has been really interesting for me, because it's a blessing if you understand your character and you understand their choices that they make every time. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and you have to find a way to play the truth of it. And the way Ravi's dealing with this, the way Ravi dealt with it, and ultimately its conclusion. I always was like, if he was my buddy, I would have definitely pulled him aside and been like, dude, this is not the way to go. This is a terrible, terrible idea. It's been interesting. It's an interesting one. It's definitely going to surprise people. I don't think it plays the way at every point, I always kind of anticipated it to go this predictable way, and it didn't. And that's quite fun, and I think the audience will be quite surprised. I don't think anyone has any idea how it's going to
Well, in the finale, he kind of gets stuck in the car, and then, you know, yeah.
Which is interesting, by the way, because in this season, everyone keeps giving him shit, basically, for being not being courageous and staying in the car. No one ever addresses the fact that he was tricked. I'm the only one who I get. It's like it hits a nerve with me as the actor. I'm like, he was tricked. He didn't. He is courageous. Sorry, go on.
Well, no, just like, you know, that confidence has to be shaken a little bit, and then he even says that, you know, he can't help but think about, you know, Peyton and Blaine together as well.
Yeah.
How long does that crisis of confidence stick around for him?
Longer than it should, and that's probably why it was a tough first kind of season, half a season, and even Rob had emailed me to sort of say, you know, it is a different Ravi, because, you know, he's always been a bit of a ball of light, and this drama kind of sucks the life out of him a little bit, and it's quite mopey, and it does stay around for quite a while. I'm not going to really talk about what happens after, but yeah, it does have an impact on him. It does kind of it takes away his kind of je ne sais quoi.
And while that's happening on the personal front, he has kind of control taken away from him on the professional front a little bit. It seems with the with Dr. Cups coming into the ME's office.
Is that 301?
It's
Oh wow, okay.
It is. Can you talk about how that changes? Just Ravi's search for the cure or other things in his life?
Yeah, Cups is his old boss, and she's tenacious, and is really close to kind of. She's basically here to figure out on part of the CDC what's going on. Like, she's going back to old stuff. She's going back to boat party days, and there's enough breadcrumbs for someone who knows what they're doing to kind of blow open what Ravi and Liv have been protecting for so long. And so that creates so rather than where we were kind of playing that dynamic with Clive, where we were always keeping Clive on the outside and lying and playing with that, Catty Cups kind of becomes that in the interactions we have, because of what she's digging up and how close she's getting to being caught up to what's going on.
What's Ravi's take on Dungeons and Dragons?
Interesting. He hates it, thinks that they're nerds, which is an interesting dynamic, because I think everyone expects Ravi to be on board with it and know everything, and he's the first one to be like, no, nerds, don't mess with that, which makes me laugh. Yeah, we haven't played that scene yet, we played that this week, but it's the one thing that he hasn't adopted. I'm the same, I'm a huge geek, and then there's some things I'm like, Dragon Ball Z? No, not watching it. You just pick and choose what's too nerdy for you, or what, like, it's completely hypocritical.
We know Peyton is also not into it. Did the two of them maybe bond about that?
No, not really.
Okay.
So now that Clive is kind of insular and part of this group, are we going to see his dynamic with Ravi change?
Yeah, it has changed. And I was kind of saying there, it's two things kind of happened. It's kind of like a positive and a negative, or a cause and effect. And what's kind of happened is that the audience have always wanted Clive to be in the know. I think that was kind of I read the boards, and I think to a certain degree, while people enjoyed Clive being on the outside, they really wanted a moment for him to find out, for him to know, and to see where the show goes. And they have that now. They have that, but unfortunately, what the effect of that is that the dynamic we've played, which is the humour of messing with Clive, of him not knowing why she's behaving the way she does, and all the humour that you get from that, it goes. Because now we're having this new thing where Clive's in on it, where he's able to solve cases while being completely aware of why Liv's doing that, what she does, and fully supporting it. It's going to be fresh and interesting for the audience, but we do lose the Ravi Clive messing about, the kind of hiding when he walks. Like, one of the best moments for me in last season, which I just loved, there was no dialogue, you don't get that on TV very often. He walks into the morgue, there's a rat autopsy, and Ravi covers it, and then there's just a three-way, they just look at each other, there's no dialogue, and it just made us all laugh, because, you know, it was just a perfect, it just showed you that dynamic without anything, without dialogue, and that's gone. But then what we have in return, which is a good thing, is this whole new idea of Clive's able to be in the morgue having those conversations, so he's at Major's, so he's at Liv's, and we're fully a bit of a Scooby-Doo gang now.
With sort of this mercenary group that wants to self-segregate, go off on an island and everything, but you're a guy that represents this cure, and maybe they aren't really on board with there being a cure trying to change who they are as zombies. So does that put him at odds with this new group, and do we get to see them sort of mix it up a little bit?
Honestly, Ravi has zero interaction with Liv Moore. Yeah, there's not, it just doesn't, what that whole thing is, it's kind of like how in season 2, I guess, or 1, Ravi again had very little interaction with Max Rager or Stacey Boss, except right at the 11th hour, both Janko and those guys knocked him out, so he ended up having the smallest interaction, as in him being in danger with them, but had nothing to do with the build-up to that or any interaction with those characters. And the same thing with Fillmore Graves. Ravi, that's not his story, that's not his journey, that's something to do with Major, Liv, Vivian, that whole thing, that's its own separate entity.
Is he okay with Major being part of that group though?
I'd be making an assumption. I don't think
So
they've
it never
spoken
comes
about
up?
it. No.
No,
Thanks.
stop it.
Thanks.
It's just a trust fund. Who cares, Carol? Oh, hey, everyone. So, yeah. Sure. How's Scrim?